The races that we were watching only because he really jumped out in front of being the resistance against President Trump is the Attorney General, Javier Becerra. He was appointed by Jerry Brown after Kamala Harris went on to the U.S. Senate. This was his first time running for this office. He was a longtime congressman.
He spends all his time resisting Trump. He's got an opponent in November who finished second in this primary vote yesterday. Stephen Bailey, he's a Republican. He's a retired judge, and he got enough votes to make second place, and he's going to take on Becerra one-on-one, and we're going to get him on the line here.
Yeah, he was an elected Superior Court judge in El Dorado County, it says here, for 8.5 years.
Stephen Bailey, welcome to the John and Ken Show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Now, we've chronicled Becerra and his one-man crusade obsession against Trump. What is he supposed to be doing? What is it you would do if you were Attorney General next year?
Well, I think number one is I'd start worrying about California's problems, the problems of the everyday citizen who's just trying to get make a living in this state. And, ultimately he is totally focused on Washington, and every tweet that comes out from the president has no time to worry about California.
I mean, I get the feeling he's got to be neglecting a lot of important stuff here in the state, because I've not heard him say anything that wasn't some kind of anti-Trump rant.
Well, that's exactly right. And, maybe one of the most important things that he could do, as opposed to trying to take all of our guns away in this state, maybe he could take the guns of convicted felons away, one of the jobs that he is solely responsible for. And for $32 million last year, we managed to take 406 names off of a list of over 10,000 convicted felons in this state.
They spent that much money on that?
Oh, $32 million. And then his excuse is, well, I don't have enough people. Isn't that always the excuse that government gives?
Well, then
I don't have enough people.
How'd they spend $32 million if they didn't have enough people?
Well,
what did they spend it on?
Is as good as mine.
Wait a second. They had to knock on 400 doors. How does that cost $32 million?
When I get there in January 2019, that's the first question I'm going to ask, because the legislature's appropriated sufficient money for us to, take all of those 10,000 guns off the street. At his rate, you, I, and our grandkids will all be dead before they get the first set of guns.
That's about one gun a day. No, he's getting about $3 million a month for one gun a day.
You got it right. It's a pretty good gig if you can get it.
Wow. What about the sanctuary policies?
Oh, those policies, number one, are totally and completely unconstitutional. Any junior lawyer would know that sanctuary state is unconstitutional. Besides the fact, the only people being protected, it's not protecting the immigrant community, it's protecting criminals who we could pick up at the back door of the jail, but ICE is now forced to go through communities looking for these convicted felons. And that is just totally stupid. It's a waste of resources, and it certainly doesn't protect our citizens in their neighborhoods.
Yeah, well, as Attorney General, that's what it should all be about, people's safety. Besides the sanctuary policies, we've also got all these prisoner release policies, too, that have run amok.
No kidding. I mean, now we're releasing early registered sex offenders from our state prison. That's the kind of person that you want back in your neighborhood. And, it would be one thing if they all went to live at Mr. Becerra's home or in front of Nancy Pelosi's locked gate, but they don't. They go right back into our neighborhoods. They prey upon our kids and our grandkids. California needs an attorney general whose focus is on California and California first.
I mean, you debated him a number of times. What was that like?
Pardon me?
You debated Becerra, I think, leading up to this, right?
Exactly. We had 3 different debates. He missed the first one. He showed up at a forum down in Los Angeles, and then he attended the debate that evening. And quite frankly, it's like, in many ways, it's like debating a brand new lawyer just out of law school. I mean, this guy was inactive for some 26 years here in California while he spent all his time in Washington as a relatively obscure congressman. And, come November, it's going to be an opportunity for the public, for California voters, to compare my resume against, Mr. Becerra's resume. And I think they'll find him wanting, and they will pick a brand new attorney general come November 2018.
It's interesting. It seems like the entire campaign strategy for Becerra and Newsom is to shout Trump, 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 and completely ignore the disaster that's unfolding every day in this state.
Absolutely. I mean, if you had policies that, demonstrably are in this state, where we've got double-digit increases in crime, we've got property crimes going up, at a clip that you can hardly keep track of, to the point where anything under $950 is a misdemeanor. And if you do it enough times, you just stack up misdemeanors. The LA County Jail doesn't have enough room for people who are convicted of misdemeanors, let alone keeping the felons in. California needs to go in a different direction, and that's where I'm going to take the state come January 2019.
All right. Well, you'll be on our voter guide for Attorney General. That'll be going up in the months to come. So thanks for talking to us. I'll probably talk to you again before then. Retired Judge Stephen Bailey. We appreciate it.
Anytime. Appreciate it.
All right. And he will face Javier Becerra in the November election. Those are the top two finishers in yesterday's